Hey guys, it's Sarah and welcome back to the Newton Clan. So today I thought since school is ending, for me it's already over, but I know for some of y'all are still taking exams and finishing up school. But I thought since school was over, I would do a more book school related video. I thought I would talk about some of the books that I either liked or didn't really like while reading in school. So looking over here, I think I have a total of about 10 books, and intermingled is books I liked and didn't really like. Now, I'm going to let you know, I usually tend to like the books I read in school, so I have a lot more likes than dislikes. But I thought it would still be a fun video to do, so let's get into it. So one last thing I wanted to mention before we actually get into this video is that there are obviously a lot of other books that I really enjoyed reading during school, some of which I have just decided not to mention in this video for the lone fact that I don't own a copy of the book to show you. But again, I just wanted to put it out there. There are tons more books I loved and probably didn't really enjoy reading during school, but I just wanted to put it out there to not get offended if your favorite book was not on my list. Some of them probably would have been if I myself owned a physical copy of the book. So now with that out of the way, let's really get started with this video. So the first book on my books I enjoyed list is A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. Now this was an amazing story that I was kind of apprehensive about reading at first, however I really did enjoy it. So this story covers the life of a family who is trying to deal with all the struggles of life during the French Revolution. So Charles Dickens really did a good job of getting into the feel of what it was like to live during the terrible time that was the French Revolution, and it was great being able to see how the family decided to deal with the struggles that they faced. So I would definitely suggest reading this book if it ever gets on a reading list for you when you're in school. So the next book I have on my liked list is The Last of the Mohicans by James Fenimore Cooper. Now again with this book, I wasn't really sure if I was going to like it. I was quite apprehensive about it at first, but once I jumped in, I really enjoyed the story. So The Last of the Mohicans follows the story of two young girls, Cora and Alice, who are trying to get back to their father, who is fighting in the French and Indian War. And so as they're trying to get back to him, we meet new friends and we make enemies along the way. So I thoroughly enjoyed the action scenes in this book, and I really did enjoy the relationships that were formed and that we were introduced to. So I'd have to say that The Last of the Mohicans is probably near the top of my list of the books I enjoyed reading during school. So the next book on my books I did enjoy list is The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. Now I have to admit, when I first started reading this book, I didn't really enjoy it. It kind of was sad in my opinion, but as I continued to press through it, I really did start to enjoy it. So The Outsiders follows the story of our main character, Ponyboy, as he struggles with a catastrophic event that changes his and his friend's life forever. So this is a great story about friendship and finding where you belong in society, so I would definitely suggest picking this book up because I feel like the main characters all have something you can relate to on any level. So the next book on my books I enjoyed list is Julius Caesar by Shakespeare. So during school I did read a couple of Shakespeare's plays. I have read Romeo and Juliet, A Midsummer Night's Dream, and Julius Caesar. And out of the three, Julius Caesar has always been my favorite. I think that's because it deals more with politics and individual characters rather than romantic relationships. So I thoroughly enjoyed Julius Caesar, maybe in part because I've always been a fan of Greek and Roman culture, but I thought it was really well written and I enjoyed Shakespeare's take on the story and life of Julius Caesar. So I would definitely suggest if you are ever asked to read a Shakespeare play in school, Julius Caesar is a great one if you're looking for a tale that's not so romantic. So my next book on this list is actually not a book, but an author, and that is G.A. Henty. And so the very first book I read by G.A. Henty was actually The Cat of Bubastes. Now The Cat of Bubastes follows the life of a young boy as he is sold into slavery in ancient Egypt, but he actually becomes more of a friend than he does a slave, and so it kind of talks about how his life progresses and how he moves up in the ranks. So the next books by G.A. Henty that I've read, I actually do own. The first here being The Boy Knight, A Tale of the Crusades, which is about a young boy who fights for his country in the Crusades. And the second being The Dragon and the Raven, which is about another young boy who fights for his country during the times of King Alfred. So personally, I loved G.A. Henty's stories. I thought they were great historical fiction. I love his take on historical events that have occurred in the past and how he took those events to inspire his stories and make characters. I have no idea. But they are amazing stories, and even if you're never tasked with reading a G.A. Henty book for school, I would totally suggest picking one up in your spare time or your personal time, as they are, in my opinion, really great books. So the next book on my books I did enjoy list is The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. Now, I have also read The Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain, but personally, I enjoyed Huck Finn's story a little bit better. I enjoy being able to read from Huckleberry Finn's perspective as he leaves his home. He practically runs away, and he tries to live a life on his own as he rafts down the Mississippi River. Now, I personally loved his story. I loved it being from his perspective, like I said. I loved being able to just see him by himself, because in Tom Sawyer, the book's a little bit more town-oriented. You get a lot of other people in the book. In this one, you just get Huckleberry Finn, and personally, I like that a little bit more. So I would definitely suggest, if you ever want to read Mark Twain, maybe you should try picking up Huckleberry Finn, as it's one of my favorites. So my last book on my list of books I did enjoy in school is The Hobbit. Now, I personally really did enjoy The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. I know some people prefer the movies over the book, and I can see why. I think the book sometimes could be a little slow, but I personally really did enjoy the book. I thought J.R.R. Tolkien's original story was great, and I thought it was fun, personally, being able to see the original journey of Bilbo and the dwarves to the Misty Mountains, and then being able to compare it to the movies, because there are some noticeable differences. But I overall did enjoy The Hobbit. I think it's a great fantasy tale, a classic if you will, and I would definitely suggest anybody who really loves fantasy and maybe even a little bit older English fantasy, I think would really enjoy The Hobbit. So if that sounds like something you would enjoy, I would definitely suggest picking this book out. So before I get into my books that I didn't really care for list, I just want to put it out there that obviously these are my personal opinions, and so these books really just weren't my cup of tea. But if you really enjoy these books, please do not feel offended by my opinions. That is something we all share, opinions. So you have yours and I have mine, so please don't hate on me for having my own. So the first book that I didn't really care for when I was in school was Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. So this story was not horrible. It was really well written. I just didn't really care for the topic or subject matter. This book, Heart of Darkness, follows a man who is investigating the Congo during its occupation by King Leopold. And so the book, again, was well written. I think Joseph Conrad did a great job writing the story. The subject matter was just a little touchy for me. You deal with slavery and human trafficking and human abuse, and I just was not for that in this story. So again, I may end up having to read another Joseph Conrad book in my lifetime, and I may enjoy it. I just wasn't a huge fan for the subject matter of Heart of Darkness. So the next book on my list of books I didn't really care for was Animal Farm by George Orwell. Now, I know George Orwell is a very popular author. I know his other book, 1984, is very popular, and one day I may enjoy it if I ever get around to reading it, but his book, Animal Farm, was really just not for me. Again, the writing was really well done. However, I didn't really care for the story, and honestly, it kind of freaked me out. The story follows the lives of a group of animals who live on a farm, and these animals are supposed to be representing people or the government during Stalin-controlled Russia. And so I just didn't care for this story. I thought it was weird, it was kind of hard to follow, and I kind of just got bored during the middle. So again, I'm sorry if this is one of your favorite school books, but I just couldn't get into it, and I didn't really care for it. And then the teacher showed us the movie in school, and that just made it worse. The movie, again, a well done movie, it just kind of creeped me out, to be honest. So I'd have to say this is probably my least favorite book I've ever had to read in school as of this point. So my final book on the list of books I didn't really care for is The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. So again, like I said with all the others that I didn't really care for, Ernest Hemingway has an amazing writing style, and I really did like his writing. Again, it was just the subject matter that I just didn't really care for. The entire course of The Old Man and the Sea is about an old man who is at sea trying to catch one fish. And so I personally kind of got bored and a little frustrated with the author for letting the story drag on so long. And then I also was really frustrated with the ending. After everything I'd been through with that character, the ending was not that great in my opinion. But I can understand anybody who likes this book. Ernest Hemingway's writing, again, is great. I just didn't really care for this subject matter. But if you like The Old Man and the Sea, that's great too. Just really wasn't my cup of tea. So guys, that is it for all the books I either liked or disliked when I was in school. So obviously that list of 10 books is not the only books I have read during my years in school. However, those were just kind of the ones that I could think of off the bat that made the list. So let me know down in the comments below if you agree with my opinions, if you cared for the books I cared for, if you disliked the ones that I disliked, or if it was the other way around. So thank you guys so much for watching. Again, please comment down below if you have anything you'd like to say. Please hit the like button and please subscribe. And again, thank you guys so much for watching. Kids, don't forget to tip your waitresses, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!